Hey, Pickle.
Yes.
Hit the air raid siren time for money more fallout. Of course, when we overreact to the football weekend, per usual, a lot to overreact to. A lot to get to. Let's start with my three big thoughts. My first big thought is measuring sticks. I was kind of struggling to find a decent, overarching theme to the week of Texas high school football. Because I'll be honest, I don't think that there were a ton of upsets. Sometimes there's a week where there's a ton of upsets, a ton of surprising results. I don't know if there was a ton of that. Sometimes there are games where there's 2 or 3 games that are the big games, and those are the only games you talk about. And I don't think it was one of those weeks. But instead, I looked across the games and the results that really caught my eye. And the overarching theme that I came up with is that this is, especially now 3 weeks in, we had a number of games that I think tell us a lot about where these teams stack up relative to one another. Mm-hmm. I thought that, for example, my first initial reaction was at Lexington's win over Rockdale, which was incredibly impressive. Mm-hmm. Incredibly impressive. Remember that is a 3A Division II team beating a 3A Division I team, and doing so in a fashion that was, heart-stopping and thrilling and all of that fun stuff. That, to me, makes me think, all right, if they're going to go and beat a state-ranked 3A Division I team, does that put Lexington into the category of the Canadians and Gunners? I don't know if I'm quite ready to go there, but I will say that I was awful impressed with what Lexington did. Mm-hmm. I thought that La Vega beating Cal Allen is a much better apples-to-apples comparison.
Right.
That La Vega goes to San Marcos and kind of edges out Cal Allen in kind of exactly the kind of game we were thinking we were going to get, which is a slugfest, just an absolute haymaker fest, back and forth at one another. And La Vega then, I think, pretty clearly reminds us, okay, in 4A Division I, because that's Cal Allen's 4A Division I team and a state-ranked one, a good one, okay, they are where they should be. They should be in that mix. They should be a kind of at that state-ranked level. In the 6-man ranks, I thought Borden County's win over Rankin was kind of a similar way. Right. Those are two 1A Division I teams that we have really high hopes for, and playing one another. Borden County comes up with a close win. That tells me that Borden County and Rankin are pretty evenly matched, and they're both, I think, pretty darn good. Those are the measuring sticks that we're coming up with. And so when I was taking a look at the results over the weekend, that's what I think we're starting to kind of get a feeling of how these teams in particular stack up. For example, the game you were at with Hamlin and Albany. Hamlin has been punching up a lot lately. They've been playing teams that are bigger than them. Well, here's a team that that was same size,
a top 10
a
team,
state-ranked 2A Division II team, and they did a controlled demolition on them.
Yes, it was over from the beginning.
It was
clear as day.
It was just a clobbering. And so for us who were thinking, okay, who is the chief challenger to Martin 2A Division II? Well, it's Hamlin right now. That's the answer. Absolutely. The answer is Hamlin right now because of what they've been able to do. That's my first big thought. Thought number 2, nobody's happy. I'm talking about college football this week. And
welcome to 2020.
What I think is amazing is that there were 4 Texas FBS teams in action this weekend. And I think all of them have something to complain about. And all of them have something that they don't feel good about. Texas Tech gives up 500-something passing yards to Bailey Zappi and barely edges out Houston Baptist.
I was like, oh my gosh, Tepper might get the free money pick wrong on no line.
They don't. Instead, I went 3-0. They don't feel they've got to have some big-time questions coming out of the game. Okay, we almost got beat.
How does that happen?
Houston Baptist was driving for the win.
Yeah.
Basically. How does that happen? There's that. I think Texas State, for another reason, has got to feel like they don't feel they don't feel good at all about the losing to UTSA. They had a big lead, or rather they came from behind, but they weren't able to finish it off. They never should have fallen behind in their minds, and they end up losing in overtime. They're now 0-4 against UTSA all time. They don't feel good about this. I don't think UTSA feels good about it. No. I know they get a win in Jeff Traylor's debut, but they coughed up a big lead.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up a game-tying punt return and needed a missed extra point
to even send it into overtime.
They end up winning, and look, that's a victory. But I feel like they've got a ton to work on. They feel like they're not necessarily happy. And then the one team that had there were 5 because UTEP played. UTEP obviously doesn't feel good.
No,
they got clobbered by Texas.
Yes,
Texas goes and they look great, and on the field everything's great, right? Really, really good.
And then the reports come out. But
B.J. Foster quit the team apparently. And because he was upset about playing time. This is a report from Anwar Richardson of the internet. I think he's with. Let me make sure I get that right, because Anwar will be very mad.
It's the first game of the season, and you're playing UTEP. Am I the only one that's confused about that?
Anwar Richardson is with Orange Bloods. He reported that B.J. Foster's quitting the team. And furthermore, I would also argue that for Texas, this was not a good weekend because the Big 12 spit the bit.
Dude,
when you take a look at what Tech did, when you take a look at what Kansas State did, you take a look at what Kansas did, you take a look at what Iowa State did, this was not a good week for the Big 12. And when you've only got one game that's not against the Big 12, if you want to get into that playoff, the strength of conference does not look good right now.
No.
So I don't know if basically anybody in the state came out feeling good about what happened in the college football ranks this week. They've all got something to complain about, and I think rightfully so. And my third big thought is unequal opportunity. And this was something I was thinking about a lot Saturday morning, early Saturday morning when I was waking up and shaking off the rust from a long day of broadcasting. We are going to have a number. One thing we're going to have to consider this year that we usually do not have to consider is there are going to be starkly different numbers of games that teams will have played when they face one another. And that's something we never have to deal with. Normally, it's pretty easy. Teams play 10 games. If it's week 5, maybe a team has played 4 games. Maybe a team has played 3 games. Maybe in a very rare instance, they had 1 game canceled. And so then they've only played 2 games, right? For example, West Orange Stark's just going to play their first game this week. Knock on wood. I hope they play. Right? Newton just played their first game this week. Mm-hmm. There are going to be instances in which you've got a team that has played a significant number more games than their opponent. Mm-hmm. And that is something we're going to have to factor in whenever we're trying to break down exactly what these teams look like.
Right, because a 3-0 team facing a team that's in their first game is going to be...
Right.
Yeah. I don't care how good the team is. There's rust.
Right. Absolutely. And that's something that is very, very odd to me. And is something that's going to take some getting used to, is that we have a number of teams that are just going to play fewer games this year. Or they're just going to have fewer practices. And that's something we have to adjust to. Those are my 3 big thoughts. 3 helmet stickers. A helmet sticker to Port Lavaca Calhoun running back.
Sorry, I went too fast.
Go back. Port Lavaca Calhoun running back Steve Johnson. His name's Steve Johnson, first and foremost. That's great. He was terrific in their big win over El Campo this week. He ran 35 times for 244 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground, and he was named Homecoming King. Port Lavaca Calhoun running back Steve Johnson. A helmet sticker for him. A helmet sticker for Houston Baptist quarterback Bailey Zappi. This dude put on a show against Texas Tech and made that defense look really problematic. He ends up throwing for, let me find his full box score. He goes 30 for 49 for 567 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was terrific. A helmet sticker for Houston Baptist quarterback Bailey Zappi. He might be actually the leading passer across all levels of college football right now.
I believe so. I think that he is. Especially, has he even
He's played
got
2 games, and he put up big numbers against North Texas.
Yes,
now, a lot of them were in garbage time.
I was going to say, especially that second half, he was hitting him far down the field too. So
crazy. And a helmet sticker for Bangs athlete Ethan Sanchez. He ran the ball 20 times for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Dragons. Bangs running back Ethan Sanchez gets a helmet sticker as well. 3 teams to worry about. Let's worry a little bit about Lubbock Estacado. This was a team we had really pretty high hopes for this year. They now slip to 0-3 on the year. And it's been a struggle, especially offensively. Now, I think they've played good teams. Played Midland Greenwood, they played Dumas, they played Canyon. Mm-hmm. Those are 3 good teams. I don't want to start burying them.
Right.
But they've scored 25 points in 3 games. And that's not what we've come to expect from Estacado. I'm a little bit worried about them, worried about Estacado. Texas A&M. And you're thinking, did I miss an A&M game?
Yeah.
You are not.
Which is why you should worry.
But you did miss some pretty sizable news last night. That their leading receiver is opting out of the season. Mm-hmm. They are, and this was something we had heard a little bit about, but Jamon Osmond has opted out of the 2020 season to prepare for the 2021 NFL Draft. And you're thinking, okay, well, that seems bad. He was their leading pass catcher. He was their leading receiver. He led in pretty much every single category. And then you take a look at the receiver room now. Okay? Courtney Davis is gone.
Yes.
Kendrick Rogers is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron Buckley's gone. Okay? Their leading receiver right now is sophomore tight end Jalen Weidermeyer, who caught 32 passes for 447 yards and a team-high 6 touchdowns last year.
He's not
so
bad.
it's your best tight end.
But...
Tight end. Great tight end. Fantastic. Their leading wide receiver right now from last year is Jalen Preston, who caught 3 passes last year. Now they have a wildly talented group of receivers.
Yes.
Almost none of them have any experience now.
Yes.
And so who's going to I have high hopes for Kellen Mond. I think he's a really good quarterback, but who's he going to throw to? So that is a team that I'm worried about. And let's worry a little bit about West Rusk. West Rusk, if you missed this one, West Rusk is now 0-2 on the year. They lose to Mineola 36-14. And once again, now they're 0-2. But once again, the offense is just kind of scuffled. Now, they played 2 good teams against Sabine, Mineola. I think those are good teams. But they've scored 21 points in 2 games. That's just not going to cut it. A little bit worried about West Rusk. 3 teams to watch.
Talk about a measuring stick.
Melissa.
My
goodness. There is a small caveat here that Braden Plyler did not play in the first half of this game for Pottsboro. But that was a show that Melissa put on. They jumped out to an early lead and never, ever looked back.
It is a shame that Plyler was
out
because I would have loved to talk. That would have been a true measuring stick.
No,
right
absolutely. But
Still,
Melissa
they
looked
balled.
terrific. 51-17 over Pottsboro. Keep an eye on them. UTSA. Look, the Jeff Traylor's undefeated as a FBS head coach. That is just
that is a fact.
Facts.
That is
facts.
That is a certain.
Went on the road, beat their rival. Did it probably in a way that they would prefer not to, as far as letting Texas State back in the game. Frank Harris. They are certainly kind of keeping him. They have not pushed the ball downfield at all. There's a lot of checkdowns, a lot of short passes, and then him running the ball. But between him and Sincere McCormick, they had it cooking. UTSA, certainly keep an eye on them. And China Spring. China Spring with another really nice win this week. They are 3-0. And by the way, so they go and they beat Brownwood 35-14. By the way, you know who they get this week at home? Lampasas. An underrated game. Keep an eye on that one.
I like that.
So those are 3 teams to watch. That is Monday Morning Fallout.